We have talked about a number of teams we've been bullish on early in the season, but the Dallas Cowboys, here we are, coming off another impressive performance. Are you buying stock in the 3-1 Cowboys?
Well, I mean, I wasn't buying stock at the start of the year, but the more I watch this team play, the more I see what Dan Quinn's doing with that defense. Micah Parsons, he is a game breaker. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a stud when it's all said and done if he's not a stud already. You look at their secondary, Diggs with an interception, each and every game, if I'm not mistaken. And you look at what they did against that Carolina defense. Heading into that game, Carolina in 3 games, folks, 30 points allowed, 135 yards rushing. Cowboys, 36 points, 245 yards of rushing. I mean, everyone was raving about Carolina and that defense, and the Cowboys just ran roughshod all over them.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure what we would see from Ezekiel Elliott, especially this early on, but what they're showing is they're a complete offensive football team right now, and Zeke is back to the Zeke of old. And when you look at the balance of this team, I'll go back to that first game against the Bucs, and yeah, I know nobody runs well against the Bucs, but 391 passing yards, 60 yards rushing. Week 4, 108 passing yards. Yeah, Dak Prescott threw 4 touchdowns, but he didn't have to throw it all over the park for them to move the football. 245 rushing yards in that game. So they're showing an ability to win every which way. And as you mentioned, look, that defense has got some good pieces, but they still signed a bunch of no-names. Yep. You know, they didn't spend a lot of money, but Micah Parsons is looking like a slam dunk through 4 weeks for Defensive Rookie of the Year. But just the way they're playing defensively and how quickly they've bought into that system and adjusted, it's impressive. The Dallas Cowboys are for real.
And you look at the defense. Randy Gregory had 4 pressures in that game. Basham had 4 pressures in that game. So they're getting it from multiple sources other than Micah Parsons.
Now, let's talk about something a little less warm and fuzzy than the Dallas Cowboys. The Baltimore Ravens. They've got a healthy lead against the Denver Broncos. Mm-hmm. And then 23-7 at that point. They get the ball back with 3 seconds left. So you'd think they take a knee. But instead, Lamar Jackson takes off and rushes for 5 yards. Didn't attempt to score. 5 yards. That allowed Baltimore to get over 100 yards in that game. That extends their streak to 43, which ties the league record held by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the mid-70s. And it didn't necessarily go over that well with the coach, with Vic Fangio after the game.
Did you have a problem with the last play that Baltimore ran?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of bullshit, but I expected it from them. You know, I've 37 years in pro ball, I've never seen anything like that. So, but it was to be expected, and we expected it.
Why did you expect it from them?
Because I just know how they operate. You know, that's just their, mode of operation there. Player safety is secondary.
I mean, I thought we were on good terms. We had a nice chat before the game. Known each other for a long time, but I promise you, I'm not going to give that insult 1 second thought. That's what's meaningful. What's meaningful to us might not be meaningful to them. Their concerns are definitely not our concerns. And, we didn't expect to get the ball back, but we decided that if we got the ball back, we were going to try to get the yards. And we got it back with 3 seconds left. So you're throwing the ball in the end zone with 10 seconds left. I don't know that there's a 16-point touchdown that's going to be possible right there. So, that didn't have anything to do with winning the game.
I don't know, man. I think Vic Fangio is making a big deal out of this. Maybe they wanted to be the team to end the record, to end the streak, and not have it happen on their watch. But for Harbaugh to have a 5-yard run, to have his quarterback rush for 5 yards to extend the record, I think more coaches need to do that stuff.
I don't have any issue with it. I know, hey, simple. You want to stop the streak? Don't allow them to rush for 5 yards in the last play of the game. It's not like they were racking up the score, putting the ball in the end zone and embarrassing you. They ran a running play for 5 yards. The worst thing you've seen in 37 years of football? What are you wearing, the blinders, Vic? Come on, give me a break. The worst thing he's seen in 37 years of football. Who's he kidding?
No, I'm with you. I don't think Harbaugh was out of line at all. If he had scored another touchdown, that's a whole different story. But I think this was totally onside. Obviously he prioritized his records. He did in the preseason. It even cost him some bodies. Maybe that doesn't make as much sense. But here, go for it. 5 yards, it's nothing. You extend the streak for another week. Meanwhile, Urban Meyer. Jags are 0-4. They had the lead for much of that game against the Cincinnati Bengals in Thursday Night Football, found a way to lose that game. After the game, Meyer decides to stick around Ohio and not go back with his team to Jacksonville, which is generally, those extra couple of days, those are usually reserved for players to have a good time and to enjoy some extra days off. Coaches usually get into the grind right away. He got into a grind of a different type because there was some
Nicely
dancing
played.
going on. Anyway, he stuck around. He was at an event, and eventually he winds up dancing with the woman that wasn't necessarily his wife. The whole thing didn't go that well, and he is on the hot seat. And this isn't the first time with Jacksonville. Should Urban Meyer resign?
Did you come up with that yourself, or did you just
No, it just
stumble
kinda went
upon
there.
that?
I stumbled upon
Wow, that was really well played. Well played, man. Here's the thing. You tell your players, don't get into situations or positions which are going to prove to be a distraction from your team.
Positions? Yep.
Okay. You don't want to get into these situations where you are.
Don't put yourself in a bad situation,
okay.
Coach.
But you're talking about the head coach of your football team, and the thing is with Urban Meyer, when you look at his track record and you look at what's happened to him in the past, it's not like this guy has a lot of rope to play with. Right? Your team's 0-4, right? If they're 4-0, who knows if this is even an issue for a lot of people, but they're 0-4, and your coach, I think it's an issue either way, personally, but I just don't think you allow yourself to be caught in a situation like that with a woman who appears to be in her 20s. I mean, it's not good.
Look, he's apologized for it, but I don't think that's necessarily enough as far as the Jags are concerned at this point. Their owner, Shad Khan, came out and said, look, his behavior was completely inexcusable. He now has to basically go back and earn our trust. And you mentioned not the first time. One of his first hires was a guy named Chris Doyle, who was the former strength and conditioning coach at the University of Ohio, a man who was fired or forced to resign because of allegations involving racism and allegations involving bullying. Then after that, Meyer's team got fined in Jacksonville. He got fined for, during OTAs, they had excessive contact, so the team was fined significantly. You've got this. It all comes on the heels of a scandal when he left Ohio State involving one of his assistant coaches, Zach Smith, and a domestic abuse allegation and how Meyer did or didn't handle that. This is not good. This is a coach who is not able to adjust to the NFL way of doing things. I think his days are numbered, and I think he winds up back in television or back in college soon.
I think the big thing is, to me at least, when you talk about all these things, it's about your moral compass, your integrity. What are your core values? And when you look at a lot of these things that happen with Urban Meyer, I think those core values come into question. And when you really break it all down in terms of leadership and being the man for a team, whether it's a president, GM, or coach, it really breaks down to your core values. How do you conduct yourself? How do you treat people? What do you expect from people? And how do you provide an example for those people? And right now, Urban Meyer isn't doing it. I'm sorry. And at 0-4, I think his time's short-lived. I really do.
I think it's going to be tough. I mean, I do think he lasts the season, but I don't think it goes much beyond that. And then television, back to college coaching, which is where he's won 3 national championships and possibly where he belongs. But even that, because people talk about USC, him possibly going there, I think his name is toxic right now when you consider what happened at the end of his last collegiate stop in this. I don't know that he coaches again after.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, he's 0-4. If he is 5-0, 7-2, if he finishes the season, with 11 wins, he'll stay. Trust me, because we've seen the National Football League, and the big thing about the NFL is who cares what you do as long as you can help us win. As long as the pros outweigh the cons, you will be part of our organization or part of our team. Right now, the pros aren't outweighing the cons when it comes to Urban Meyer.
Yeah, no question. Our executive producer, Michael Toy, is gutted right now that we're having this conversation because he's a massive Ohio State fan, and Urban brought him a national title, so this is killing him, but what are you going to do?
I think Michael might have given him a lap dance, too.
Just buy Michael lunch at the end of this. Everything's fine.
It's all good.
Jimmy Garoppolo, before we end the segment, has Jimmy Garoppolo played his final game? Has he started his final game as a member of the San Francisco 49ers? Injured his calf against the Seahawks, didn't play in the second half of that game. Trey Lance came in to finish that game. Neither quarterback was exceptional in this game. But if Trey Lance plays this weekend and Garoppolo has not been ruled out, Kyle Shanahan said yesterday, he still could wind up playing. But if Lance starts and plays and puts on a good performance, that might be it for Jimmy G.
We've seen this play out before with a quarterback coming in who they believe has a higher ceiling in terms of his physical skill set than the incumbent. Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith, right? So, of course, it's a different coaching staff now. You had Harbaugh running the show back then. Now you have Shanahan. But I think the same rule applies, and that is, let's find out what we have with this guy. Let's see where that ceiling is. Because Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm sorry. I mean, the book on Garoppolo is that he's a good quarterback, but not the type of quarterback who can win you a Super Bowl. He's had all these great pieces around him, and yeah, he took a team to the Super Bowl, but when it was all said and done, and he had to make that throw, and we remember what happened when he had to make that throw. He missed his receiver, right? So I just think if I'm the 49ers, if I'm a 49er fan, I want to see what this young stud can do.
Yeah, and on top of that, there is an injury history there, and there is a reason San Francisco traded up and gave up a lot to get Trey Lance. So we knew that it was a matter of time. Is that time going to come sooner than later? We'll find out.